anytime you speed things up for a young quarterback, who is still learning and growing within himself and within the offense, you force them to make a rush decision. And that's what Avery did here. He did admit that he was trying to get too much back in one play. And I think he'll learn from this, and that this will become a good learning moment for him. But again, take the options that the defense gives you, and again, good options available in different ways there, and ways for us to make a good play.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello, and welcome to another 3-Maw bonus edition. I am your host, Cole Manbeck, and I am joined, as always, by former Wildcat wide receiver and partner at Wildcat NIL, Curry Sexton, as we are here to recap Kansas State's 38-9 loss in Provo to BYU last Saturday night. We are going to do something really cool on this show for the first time. Obviously, Curry really knows his stuff, and so I want to tee it up to you guys that are watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, you may want to also double down and go over to our YouTube channel at some point in this show, as we're going to do kind of an all-22 breakdown of a few plays that we've selected from the game against BYU so that you can see what transpired and kind of that all-22 visual, and have Curry break down some things with the offense that you saw. We're going to probably choose 4 to 5 plays here and run through those. So stay tuned for that here on this show as we go through that. And if you're watching on YouTube, you will be able to see that. But first, as always, got to get stocked up with your Holiday Distillery products. I needed a lot of Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon on Saturday night, as it carried me through the sadness of the roller coaster ride of the BYU game, and it was a bad night to be Ben Holiday, because a bottle got poured pretty heavily with what transpired in Provo. So go get stocked up. Tremendous stuff. Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon, or 360 vodka if that's your taste. Go get stocked up with Holiday Distillery's products. Tremendous folks who support us on 3-Maw. And also, folks, we got an 11 a.m. kick against Oklahoma State this Saturday, and you need to get over to the Wildcat NIL tailgate on Saturday morning before the game, which will start, I believe, at 8 a.m. Curry, is that right?
Yep, start up right around 8 a.m. We'll have breakfast tacos and all kinds of beverages and food or other food and coffee, and probably maybe even some Holiday Distillery 5 Farms. To give people an option to add a little something into their coffee. So it'll be a good time. We'll have TVs going. We'll have College Game Day playing. Come out and see us if you're a member, and feel free to bring a couple guests. And if you're not a member, get signed up to be a member so you can join us at catsnil.com.
And throw the hoodies on. Nice little fall morning and have that crisp chill in the air. A nice little warm cup of coffee with a little 5 Farms from Holiday Distillery splashed in potentially. Sounds like exactly what I'll be doing, as I'll be over there as well. Probably try to make my way over to the Wildcat NIL tailgate, which is on the northeast grass lot of the Veneer Complex, just right off the pavement of the east side of the football stadium. Can't miss it. Big white tent with Wildcat NIL signage. So go over there. It's a ton of fun. Well, my friends, I told you guys on the last show, I took some friends over there last game. They had a ton of fun. We had a blast headed over there at the Wildcat NIL tailgate. So if you're a member, make it on over. If you're not a member, or you are and bring some friends over, like Curry said, and tell them to go check out catsnil.com. I'm telling you, with just $10 a month or $25 a month, you're going to drink and eat your, food's worth with one trip over there to the tent with everything that's there. So it is well worth it. Just the tailgate alone for one game is well worth signing up for one of the membership tiers at catsnil.com. And you can really enjoy the tailgates for the rest of the football season if you do so. Well worth it. So again, go over to catsnil.com and check out all the great things going on there. Curry, let's just dive in. Have you ever seen a 5-6 minute stretch in your lifetime, not even within K-State, but in your football watching history, of what transpired at the end of the first half and the first few minutes of the second half?
Not in that context, no. Sure, you see it when Alabama plays Middle Tennessee in November every year, but that's not a case where Alabama's losing with halftime nearing and then goes on a crazy run with all kinds of wild plays. I've never seen it in the context of a team trailing 6-3 late in the half, the team that's leading has the ball, 2 minutes to go, getting the ball to start the second half, and somehow in the early second half, that same team who was trailing 6-3 is now ahead 31-9, with none of those points being generated by a long offensive drive, and all of those points being generated by crazy defensive plays, picks turns into touchdowns, in a long 99-yard punt return that was almost a fumble, or that was a fumble that almost led to us getting the ball deep in their territory. So never have seen that string of wild plays and the game being flipped on its head when the team that ended up getting destroyed had been controlling the entire first half. Just a bizarre game, bizarre sequences. Unfortunate that we were on that side of it, but sometimes that's what happens when you take an inexperienced football team into a raucous environment like BYU.
Yeah, and we heard from people there, DY and John as well, with 3-Maw, that it was arguably the loudest road atmosphere that they had experienced in their time covering Kansas State. So look, it was a raucous place, but K-State had taken the crowd out of the game early on. And Curry, I think that's the thing that really stood out to me, and I know we were texting during the game, but if K-State punches those first 2 drives in for touchdowns, I think they win that game going away handily. Like, what do you make of those first couple drives? K-State was dominating. It was the penalties, shooting themselves in the foot, and then having to settle for red zone field goals that hurt them.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last week. When you got a young, inexperienced team going into an environment like that against a team that plays really well in night games, we talked about it. I told you, I said we have to get off to a hot start and eliminate their fans, their team having hope. And sure, we got off to a solid start. Methodical drives, getting down into the red zone and putting points on the board, and defense getting off the field and giving the ball back to the offense. But by not scoring touchdowns in those situations, you give that team hope. By being up 6-0 instead of 14-0, that team they're right there, and a touchdown gives them a lead. And so, despite the fact that we controlled the game, their field goal in the middle part of that second quarter, or latter part of that second quarter, obviously brought them within one field goal, and then that fumble 6 gives them a lead in a half where they probably didn't play well enough to deserve a lead. One fluky play, by a guy who is super secure with the ball in most other cases, flipped that game on its head in a half where we dominated the football, and controlled the game completely. So it's one of those nights where clearly things did not go our way, and a lot of that was self-inflicted. But again, you have to take matters into your own hands. You have to put 6 on the board instead of 3, and you have to eliminate that hope that fan base that team is able to feel by giving them opportunities by only scoring 3.
Yeah, I mean, as you think about it, if you punch those 2 first drives in and get up 14-0, BYU probably also becomes rather one-dimensional early on in that game. You can pin your ears back defensively and make Jake Retzloff drop back, and that's in situations where you start putting pressure on him when he's been turnover-prone in his career. And then also the fact, if you get up 14-0, the way you were running the football those first 2 drives, you were going to be able to methodically bleed out that clock and wear that BYU defense down. I mean, K-State's first 2 drives absorbed 14 minutes of time of possession compared to 7 for BYU. It was 28 plays to like 12 or 13 for BYU after the first 2 drives, including a 16-play drive for that second field goal. You just capitalize and make those touchdowns instead. You take the crowd out of the game. You put BYU in a one-dimensional situation offensively, and then also K-State playing to its strength of being able to run the ball, as they went for over 200 yards for the 4th straight game, all 4 games this season on the ground. What did you make of the sequencing of play calls at the end of the first half? You obviously can't control DJ Giddens fumbling and a scoop and score. That's a fluke deal. DJ Giddens hasn't put the ball on the ground his entire career in 370-plus carries. You trust him in that situation. But did you like the decision to go just bleed out the clock when they got it with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left, where they ran the ball 3 straight times, and then it looked like they were just trying to get to halftime up 6-3? What did you make of the sequencing of that? And then followed up by the fact that after the scoop and score, K-State still getting the ball to start the second half, only down 10-6, elected to drop back and pass with that crowd roaring. Like, what would you have liked to have seen from the offense there and the play calling?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the conservative play calling there on that first drive, the drive that led to the fumble, you could tell that we were trying to be cute and conservative. We were trying to get a first down, and if we got a first down, I think we're going to then get more aggressive. But we were fine with going 3 and out, bleeding some clock, and punting the ball to them with little time left in the first half. If you're going to do that, though, I mean, if you're just going to try to bleed clock and hopefully, gain a first down in the meantime, I don't necessarily love, the horizontal play calling. I don't love the zone read that leads to a fumble, because obviously anytime you're doing that zone read, there's a possibility of a missed or, of a fumbled exchange, which is kind of what we saw. So didn't love the conservative play calling in that instance. We'd been moving the football very, very well. The play calling had been pretty dynamic. We were getting guys, an open space, and by going conservative, you present that opportunity. So I wasn't crazy about that, but I was even more so not thrilled with the decision making after the fumble return for a touchdown. At that point, after you've been conservative up 6-3, knowing that you're going to get the ball to start the second half, there's no sense in trying to get that lead back right then and there. Lick your wounds. Get into halftime down 10-6, knowing that you're going to get the ball to start the second half and come out and take control of that game again. So I was, the first sequence, I understood it to a degree, wasn't crazy about it, but the second sequence was obviously a huge problem. Avery tries to get that lead back in one throw, throws a pick, and then the game was effectively over at that point. I mean, we were shell shocked at that point. Their crowd was all the way back into it, and we didn't have a chance after that.
And my thought process is, if your mindset is when it's 6-3 and 2 minutes plus going in, and your mindset was to just try to run the clock out and get to the locker room, then your mindset shouldn't change when it's 10-6 and you get the ball to start the second half, because the only thing that changed was you're down 4, and that place is absolutely rocking now, and they've got their ears pinned back defensively with the momentum. Just take it into the locker room at that point. I know it's easy to say hindsight's 20/20 here, but at that point, I think you just got to take it in. This isn't an offense right now with a minute 8 that's probably going to be able to just drop back and pass and get into scoring position in that time frame. And so probably should have just stuck with the approach of just kneeling it out or getting to the locker room and resetting down 4 points, which is something you can easily recover from, getting the ball to start the second half. But did not happen. And unfortunately, we sit here today now as Kansas State is 3-1 and facing really a must-win situation at home on Saturday against Oklahoma State in Manhattan. We're going to throw to a break here. And like I said earlier, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the offense, and then we're going to do a film study with Curry on a few plays with an all-22 visual look that you guys will be able to take a look at. So stay tuned after break. Before we go to break, as always, we have to tell you about Home Field Apparel. See a ton of Home Field Apparel being worn around Bill Snyder Family Football Stadium this year. They have over 50 items to choose from, K-State specific, on their website over at homefieldapparel.com, including awesome retro shirts, super soft and comfortable. I'm actually rocking right now a retro home field hoodie because we've got fall weather that has arrived. So there's a little chill in the air this morning, got the windows open, and threw on one of the mini home field hoodies that I own. And I cannot tell you enough or emphasize enough how comfortable these hoodies are. And they have awesome retro logos on them, sleek designs, as well as hats on their website, pants, K-State pants, retro jackets, bomber jackets. They've got everything you could need. So go get hooked up. Go to homefieldapparel.com and you will score 15% off when you go to checkout on your entire order by entering discount code 3MAW24. Again, that's 3MAW24 to get 15% off your entire order. Go to homefieldapparel.com and check them out.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your number one source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
We're going to transition to our top storyline of the week here, which as always is brought to you by our friends over at Elanco, premier home improvement company based out of Kansas City. Has you covered for all your needs, whether it is door replacements, premium window replacements, Kohler Luxstone shower, bathroom remodels, siding on your homes. They've got you covered, owned by local and great K-Staters. So go check out Elanco. Go to elancohome.com. Curry, let's just dive in a little bit more on the offense here. Look, they were dominating at the start of this game, driving the ball, 120 yards rushing on the first 16, 17 carries of the game, averaging almost 7 yards per carry. but things then just fall apart. It is only the second time in the Chris Kleiman era in the 67 games he's coached where K-State has failed to score an offensive touchdown, and it's the second worst margin of defeat outside of the 2020 COVID game at Iowa State where they lost 45-0. The offense couldn't get it in the end zone. What did you see from K-State's offense that gave them so much struggles, especially in that second half when they couldn't get back on board?
In the first half, the issue that we dealt with was penalties, and penalties in the red zone really killed us. The snap infraction on the first drive was killer. And I can't remember if it was a false start or a holding call in the red zone on the second drive. Those are drive killers, especially when you're controlling the tempo, you're running the football well, you're getting ahead of the sticks. That allows a team like us, who is a run heavy team, to continue to do what we want to do. When you put yourself into those long yardage situations, then you have to become a passing football team, which we've shown we're not there yet on. So I think the first half penalties killed us, put us into some bad situations, and in the red zone caused us to settle for field goals. And then at the end of the day, I think when when that game flipped on its head, when we went from up 6-3. To down 10-6 and then 17-6. Then we were forced to. I don't know that we were forced to, but we chose to become to try to get the lead back. We chose to become more of a passing football team, which again is not our strong suit. And so obviously then we're not moving the ball as effectively. We're turning the ball over. We're not getting ourselves in good down and distance situations. We're getting into second and third and long situations, which are obvious passing downs. So I think, it's a tale of two halves. The first half, we controlled the tempo. We moved the ball really, really well, but we had some unfortunate penalties, unfortunate timing on those penalties. And then the second half, because of the way the game had been flipped, we were forced to become a pass heavy team, which is just not who we are. So again, tale of two halves, and both halves tell completely different stories.
Yeah. And we'll dive in here in just a minute to some of the things that we saw transpire when you look at the film and see some opportunities that were maybe missed, as well as some of the things that unfolded that caused opportunities to potentially be missed that could have been there potentially. So stay tuned here in just a moment. But first, as always, got to remind you about Elanco. In an industry where many of our home improvement companies have been bought up by private equity, Elanco has remained locally owned by terrific K-Staters since they started in 1986. They're based out of Kansas City. They cover Western Missouri, Northeast Kansas. They'll come to you wherever you're at. Premium window replacements, bathroom remodels, including the Kohler Luxstone shower system, door replacements, siding on your home, so much more. They've got you covered for all your home improvement needs. Go to elancohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com, or give Sam a call at 913-961-2165. These are great K-Staters, folks, that support the show. So go support Elanco, top-notch home improvement company, and also tremendous K-Staters. They'll talk directly with you about your home improvement needs. Give them a call or go to their website at elancohome.com. All right, well, it's time for a little film review here. Shout out to our producer, Nick, who's going to help assist us along here. And we're going to run clips back to back here. I think we got 5 clips that we're going to kind of break down here with Curry, who obviously knows his stuff, having played the position. And once again, as a reminder, folks, Curry, the last 1,000-yard receiver, along with Tyler Lockett at Kansas State in the 2014 season. So the first clip we're going to roll here, if you're watching on YouTube, is a play this is the 2nd and 5 as K-State's at around the 8-yard line in the first half. K-State's up 3-0 here, and you'll see it play. Nick, I don't know if you can bring it back up again and play it on loop potentially, but you're going to see here Avery Johnson drops back, and it's an incompletion. And Curry, I'll just let you break down what you see here and what unfolds.
Yeah, Nick, if you don't mind running that again. So you can see here that we're in an empty set, and they bring DJ into motion. And the reason that you almost always see a player going into motion in a goal to go or red zone situation is because it's the easiest indicator as to what defense you're facing. That linebacker covering DJ runs with him as he goes into motion, which makes it very, very clear that this is a man-to-man situation. So knowing that, Avery's initial pre-snap read is the right one. You've got your best receiver lined up, man-to-man coverage on the outside, with really no safety help, and so really you're hoping that your best receiver is going to go win in that man-to-man situation. So Keegan's got to go in. He's got to run a better route. As you see, he runs a slant route. He loses leverage almost right off the snap against that DB, and really it just doesn't run an effective route. So Avery's initial pre-snap read was the right one, and then you see that it instantly, I mean, with a pretty clean pocket, when that first read doesn't become available, Avery panics and exits the pocket. Which is problematic because if you look at tight end, I believe that's Will Swanson, who runs an angle route. Will Swanson is wide open for an easy touchdown because the safety linebacker who is supposed to be man-to-man on Will runs with DJ, leaving 2 guys on DJ and 0 guys on Will. So this is a good play design, good initial pre-snap read by Avery. Got to sit in that pocket and get to his second and third reads, and if he does so, that's an easy touchdown pass to Will Swanson, and the Cats can really swim.
Yeah, and this is where I have a little egg on my face because I was probably a little hard on Connor Riley after the game and in the post-game show we released yesterday, Curry, because I did not like throwing the ball on 2nd and 3rd and 5 in those situations after K-State was running it down their throat and dropping back. And I guess you could still argue that running the ball probably still would have worked, but this is a touchdown play that's dialed up. And Will Swanson's open for a touchdown and just a play. Yeah, it's a young quarterback just struggling to come off his initial read, which is very common that we see in college football. And so Avery Johnson will get better at this, but that gives you kind of a lens of what he's seeing there and then evading the clean pocket when his first read was not there and unfortunately didn't work out, and K-State ultimately settles for a field goal. Great stuff there, Curry. Nick, you want to roll clip number 2 here. So this is, I'm trying to think, I don't remember the segment of the game. I think it's in the first half, Curry, and you've got Avery dropping back. I think it's a 2nd and 4, and it's a deep ball to Jace Brown in the back of the end zone. Honestly, the throw is not that bad. Like it's pretty close. It hits Jace Brown in the hands, actually at a pretty good spot. It's just a really tight window. But as you can see here, Jace Brown pops open right over the middle of the field early on, and then you also got Jaden Jackson on the far side that appears to be open. So Curry, I'll let you kind of dissect the defense BYU's in and what you see unfold here.
Yeah, so this is some sort of a cover 2 look. It's really hard to specifically diagnose it because you've only got one receiver to the boundary. So that corner runs with that tight end. So but this appears to be a straight cover 2 look, and then the concept that we're running is a double post concept, which against cover 2 is a really great play to run. And so I do think, first off, Jace does come open across the middle. But as you can see, Avery's not even to the top of his drop when Jace does flash open in the middle of the field. So either we got to get into our drop and into the top of our drop more quickly, so we can let that ball go, or Jace has to feel that zone and find that zone a little bit better. And then I think the biggest issue with this play is that our 2 receivers, I believe Jaden lined up at number 2 to the top of the field, and then Jace, number 3 to the top of the field, really don't utilize this coverage to put the pressure on the defense. Double post against this type of look should almost always be a big play. As you can see, Jace, gets inside it, gets a good release, but then runs directly to the backside safety and makes that guy's job super easy. What Jace should be doing is pushing directly up the field to that top side boundary safety and making him run with him, which would leave Jaden wide open on the backside for a touchdown. And would also, by hugging that inside safety, if the top side safety doesn't run with Jace, then Jace has a lot of room between him and that boundary safety to make a play, to go, to give Avery space to go make a throw. So really, I think the issue here is poor execution by the 2 receivers running the double post concept on the top side. They make that play really easy to cover by the defense in a coverage scheme that really should not work against this concept. And then I think the other issue that I have with this play is on the backside here. When you've got this obvious cover 2, cover 4 look on to the boundary, is that tight end has to be able to try to hook the eyes, hook the attention of that boundary safety, which would then allow Jace to run free over the top side of the defense. So great play call for the scheme. Just poor execution by the guys running the routes. I think, obviously Avery could have hit Jace earlier, but again, he's not to the top of his drop yet. He makes a throw that I think was catchable. Jace could have gone and made a play on that ball in the end zone for a touchdown. But again, if those two receivers run in the double post concept to the boundary, if they execute that properly, that's a big play, if not a touchdown.
It's probably a dumb question, Curry, but when Jace pops open right over the middle, and I know the route definitely, as you said, could have been better, but when he pops open over the middle, like I watch the Chiefs all the time, obviously Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, they improv and they just kind of sense what each other's doing. And Travis Kelce, I feel like, will probably just sit down right there, and Patrick Mahomes would know, and I get like that's the best tight end and quarterback in the NFL. So it's a different level, right? But should Jace maybe sense that like he's wide open there and settle in that hole and Avery find him, or should he continue on with this route in that sense?
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're there yet to improvise like that and to ultimately end up on the same page. And I do think at the end of the day, if Jace pushes vertically right up that hash for 15, 20 yards and puts his toes on that safety's feet, the boundary safety's feet, he forces that safety to flip his hips and run with him. And then if Jaden stays wide on the outside on his post, that's as easy as a touchdown as he will find. And so I think the bigger issue here is Jace running more of a direct arrow route across the field, making both safeties' jobs easier instead of putting pressure on the boundary safety, forcing him to choose him or Jaden and leaving the other one open for a touchdown.
It's great analysis, man. That's awesome, Curry. All right, and we were texting with Curry about this last night, which gave us the idea to do this. It was great stuff. All right. Rolling clip number 3 here for those of you that are watching on YouTube. This is the first drive of the second half. 3rd and 9, Avery Johnson drops back to pass. You see, I believe it's Easton Kilty, left tackle, gets beat immediately on the inside move by the DN, which puts Avery under duress immediately. He breaks contain, obviously, gets up into the middle there, and it looks like he has plenty of room to run, but instead kind of forces the throw in there, and it's picked up by BYU, and that felt like all she wrote for the game at that point. Like, Curry, I mean, to me, this probably feels overly simple. Like, Avery just needs to tuck it and run here, or he's got DJ Giddens wide open in the flat. Obviously, this is probably a young player trying to just make too big of a play to try and get everything back all at once. But what do you see here?
Yeah, so obviously this is late in the first half after they take the 10-6 lead on the fumble return for a touchdown.
This is the first drive of the second half.
Oh, first drive of the second half. Yeah, you're right. So first drive of the second half, they're up 17-6. Obviously, game's already been flipped on its head. And yeah, this is just a case of a young quarterback trying to get everything back in one play. So this is an obvious quarter look, cover 4 look. So you've got corners dropping on the outside, you've got safeties dropping deep, and then because of the look we give them, you've got linebackers dropping nicely within their zones. Avery obviously gets pressure early, does a great job evading that and stepping up into the pocket. Yeah, he's got 3 options here, 3 great options here. One, probably the best option is take off and run, go get a first down with your feet. Option 2, which probably also leads to a first down, is swing it out to DJ Giddens in the flat, who's also who may have a bigger play available to him because of the way that linebacker sits inside. And then option 3, which is a perfectly acceptable play that probably gets you 6 to 8 yards, is to swing the ball out into the other flat to Will Swanson, who's also got soft coverage on him. And so this is a play where Avery just needs to learn to take what the defense gives him. And the defense is giving him, again, 3 really good options here. Run the football or throw it to one of your flat routes. As you can see, the option that Avery chose is probably the worst option of all. I mean, if that ball doesn't get picked by the linebacker, it's getting picked by the safety. And if it doesn't get picked by the safety, Jace is getting lit up by the backside safety. So I mean, really throws this ball into triple coverage. It's danger zone in 3 different ways. So again, just gotta get comfortable just making the obvious play, taking what the defense gives you.
Yeah. And obviously the offensive line's got to do a better job there. Protect.
Absolutely.
But it puts him under immediate duress, and he does a nice job breaking through that, which obviously Avery's tremendous at, but just makes a poor read. And again, I think he even acknowledged at his press conference yesterday at media availability that it was just him trying to get too much back at one point. And that's going to happen with young players. As I rewatched that again, like DJ Giddens, honestly, in the flat, like I think that's a huge play because he's one-on-one. he's going to get the first out at least, and then he's one-on-one with the potential to make that guy miss for a huge play because the other guy's running downfield.
Keegan takes two guys with him on his post route. So you're right. It's DJ one-on-one with great leverage. And I think you're right. I think the issue in this play did start with the offensive line with left tackle getting beat. Obviously that speeds things up for Avery. And anytime you speed things up for a young quarterback, who is still learning and growing within himself and within the offense, you force them to make a rush decision. And that's what Avery did here. And he did admit that he was trying to get too much back in one play. And I think he'll learn from this, and that this will become a good learning moment for him. But again, take the options that the defense gives you, and again, good options available in different ways there, and ways for us to make a good play.
Yeah. And he's already learned from this because, they're seeing the same things that we're going through right now, and they're looking at this in even more detail. And Avery will only get better from it. It's just a young quarterback that's going through the growing pains of being on the field as a true sophomore right now.
Absolutely.
So, okay, let's go to clip number 4. We got a couple more here. This play is in the first half. I can't remember if this is the first or the second drive of the game. I want to say it's the first drive of the game, actually, because I think Avery ends up dumping this. I believe this is a play where, unfortunately, Braden Lofton gets hurt as he gets hit on the knee as Avery dumps it off to him. You're going to see here, and Curry will break this down. Jace obviously goes in motion. You got Keegan in single coverage down near the bottom of the screen in one-on-one, and he's a guy that can go up and make a play. But unfortunately, the offensive line again gets beat up the middle, and I think that forces Avery to dump it off more quickly than he would have liked to Braden Lofton, which he ultimately gets a first down. So it's a successful play, but it could have been a touchdown if K-State protects this better. Curry, what do you see here?
Yeah. So again, I mean, the issue here starts with protection. I think Taylor Portier, who's right guard, pulls and misses the free rusher, which causes again Avery to speed up and to react quickly. To start the play, I mean, you see Jace Brown going into motion again. We run a lot of motion to try to help diagnose coverages. Nobody runs with Jace, which makes it very clear pre-snap that, hey, we've got zone coverage here. So this is a cover 4 look, which seemed to be fairly common for BYU. As you can see, boundary or field corner up top, running with the receiver, field corner below, running with the receiver. That signals some sort of cover 4 look. Because of the pressure that they bring. You see that safety has to come down on that boundary safety has to come down on tight end, which leaves Keegan running one-on-one on a post route. So ideally, you see Keegan get even with that cornerback on the outside. That's a play where with time, Avery's just got to throw the ball to the goalpost, or throw the ball to the goalpost and let his number one receiver go make a play. I think with more time, that's probably the result that he has. Instead, offensive line gets beat, gives up pressure, and Avery does make a good decision and makes a good throw to Braden Lofton. Unfortunately, I believe this was the play that led to Braden's injury and forced him out for that game and potentially a few more weeks. So ideally, offensive line holds up. You maybe score a touchdown and avoid an injury here, but that's just the way things go. So I think, good play by Avery ultimately. If the offensive line holds up, I think there's a touchdown to Keegan Johnson.
Yeah. Look, and the offensive line was controlling the line of scrimmage in the running game, especially the first half of this game. They were performing well, but in pass protection, when BYU started to pin its ears back, the K-State offensive line struggled. I mean, they did not pass protect well at all in this game. And I've had some BYU fans come at me questioning why I'm quoting last year's stats about that program, but they were dead last in the country in sack rate last year in all of college football. Okay, they didn't get magically overnight to be a team that should be able to get after the quarterback at that level. They've definitely improved, and Jay Hill's a good defensive coordinator. I'm not going to take anything away from there, but K-State's got to protect better, especially against 4-man pressures. All right, let's roll one more clip. This is going to be K-State back down. This is actually a great drive. This is the second drive of the game, right when K-State is pinned down inside its own 10-yard line, and they go 16 plays but have to settle for the field goal. We've got, let's see, we'll roll it back here real quick. I think we've got a single empty backfield, 2 tight, 3 wide receivers. I'll just let you break this down, what you see here. It's ultimately a completion to Dylan Edwards. Nice catch by Dylan for about 4 or 5 yards, Curry, but what do you see?
Yeah, so I think during the game, I noticed that pre-snap, you've got Dylan split out to the wide side on the boundary. Pre-snap, you could see that he and Avery were communicating, that Avery locked onto him early, which I think, led to the outcome of this play. Completed pass, obviously deep in your zone, is perfectly acceptable. And Avery did a good job of getting the ball out there when pressure got to him. But here, what you see here is obviously you've got an obvious cover 2 look. You look at the width and safeties, that screams cover 2. You look at how the cornerbacks are square to the line of scrimmage and squatting on the routes on the hitch routes to the outside. That tells you you've got an obvious cover 2 situation. I'm wrong. We've got cover 2 to the boundary, and we've got cover 4 to the field, which presents a cover 6 opportunity. So seeing how close, seeing the separation between Dylan and the corner shows obvious cover 2. And then look at the 8 or 10 yards of separation to the top on Dante Cevis shows, hey, we're probably getting a cover 4 look here. That's something where when you're running a smash concept like we're running, inside receivers to the corner, outside receivers on the hitch routes, Avery's got to diagnose that pre-snap and understand that, okay, Dante's getting a cover 4 look. You see that corner that outside corner sag off on the inside corner route, and Avery's got to pound that ball outside of Dante Cevis. That's an easy first down pickup. Easy throw and catch. That's all just about pre-snap diagnosis. So again, getting cover 2 the boundary concept, the smash concept is not going to work there. Getting that sagging cover 4 look to the field. We've got to play that corner. You play that high to low. When you see him sag off on that corner route from the inside receiver, you've got to throw. You've got to hit that outside hitch route. That's an easy throw and catch first down.
Really interesting stuff. Curry, I do have to ask you about this. So Dylan Edwards ultimately makes the catch for around 5 yards, but this is a pet peeve of mine. So this is me on my soapbox. Why is Dylan Edwards running 5-yard curl routes on the boundary? Like, why?
I mean, I think it's a fair question, but ultimately I think it's us trying to utilize him in different ways. And I do think that there was, based on the pre-snap communication between Dylan and Avery, my guess is that maybe there was some sort of check made there to, for Dylan to ultimately run that route. So I'm fine with it because, again, we've been asking for Dylan to be utilized in more ways. And so I think putting him out to the boundary and letting him run routes is not a bad decision. And ultimately, against that cover 2 look, Dylan should not have even been an option on that play. So whether he runs a hitch route or runs a go route, down the sideline, he's probably not going to be the guy. Obviously, he was on that play as it worked out, but at the end of the day, when you get that cover 6 look and you have the field corner playing way off of our top side receiver, that's a play where, again, Avery's eyes immediately need to go to the flag hitch combo on the field, and again, read that corner playing high to low. When that corner sags off on the flag route that's being run by the inside receiver, he's got to bang that outside throw. Again, easy pitch and catch first down play. So again, I think we saw in those 5 clips, we saw some plays where Avery had really, really good pre-snap diagnosis, and then we saw some plays where Avery maybe his pre-snap diagnosis wasn't as good. And I think some of those issues come from locking on to one guy, whether it's Dylan or Jace. Or locking on to, what he believes to be the best look pre-snap, which may not always be the case. And so I think, more consistent pre-snap diagnosis is going to help Avery. And then I think getting off of his first read and getting into his progressions is going to help him even more. And then ultimately the offensive line shoring up protections and making sure that Avery's got a good, clean pocket to throw from is also going to create more opportunities as well. Because as we saw there's 2 plays where, hey, if protection holds up, there's going to be options available to Avery for big plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think the glimmer of hope you see is to what you just said. Like, it's kind of a mixed bag, but you also see there are some plays that they're dialing up that will work eventually if K-State sees them and they continue to learn and grow better from them. So that's a positive. You just know that, it's going to take a little bit of time, and Avery Johnson is an extremely cerebral guy, a smart player, and he will learn from this and get better from it, and they'll continue to work it. And over the next few weeks, starting hopefully this Saturday, we continue to see that growth pattern implemented and continue to sustain and move upward. So that is outstanding stuff, Curry. I hope everybody enjoyed that as much as I did. So go check it out. If you're watching on YouTube, I think you'll really get a kick out of that. If you're listening, you can probably still, kind of understand what we're talking about, but it'd be easier if you switch on over to YouTube. You can listen to both. Check it out there. Thanks to Nick behind the scenes there for running all of those plays for us. We'll try to see if we can make this a thing moving forward and do this more often, because I think people are fascinated with your breakdowns much smarter than me, Curry.
Hopefully we can start diagnosing some big plays and some deep shot touchdowns over the middle of the field. I mean, again, the opportunities were there. I think you saw in every single one of those plays, there was a good option available, and it's just, make protection's got to be good, reads and progressions have to be good, and ultimately receivers have to help their quarterback. I think it's we saw a combination of all three of those factors impacting the success of those plays. But in each of those 5 plays that we looked at, there's a good option available for a big play or for a solid play.
Yeah, there's no. This is an absolute team loss. So
absolutely, it is a fluky. I hate to use the word because we got dominated. I mean, at the end of the day, BYU deserved to win. They played better than us. They rattled us. That environment, that environment took the game over. But that is as fluky as a game as I've seen. Again, just where one team controls the entire first half, a couple boneheaded plays lead to the game getting flipped on its head, and before you know it, a 6-3 lead is turned into a 31-6 deficit. That you don't look at that game having watched the entirety of it and feel like, okay, that's a team that was completely outclassed, because that's just not the case. Again, you look at, I know total yardage can be deceiving. We know that from having Bill Snyder as a coach, but we outgained them by 130 yards. Again, we ran the ball super effectively. But again, they made plays and we made mistakes, and that was the difference in the game. But that's a game film where you can go, you can see where mistakes were made, you can see where improvements can be made, and ultimately you can feel good knowing that, hey, we didn't play so poorly. We just got to clean up the mistakes.
Yeah, it's not like K-State got dominated from the onset of this game. They were handling this game well the first 28 minutes. And then it just snowballed, and they, young team on the offensive side especially just didn't have an answer to respond to the adversity going against them there. And that's going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. And yeah, Curry and I would love to break down some positive plays for you guys. So hopefully this Oklahoma State game, we do this again after that. We're breaking down some touchdown plays for you guys to see what K-State did so well there. And yeah, I do need to remind people that, and I hate to throw a stray at Will Howard here, guys, but I saw people, asking about Will Howard again, what he's doing at Ohio State. Will Howard went on the road last year in Game 5 at Oklahoma State and threw 3 picks. Okay, these guys make mistakes. It happens. It directly contributed to a loss last year. Avery makes a couple mistakes here. He's a true sophomore playing in front of a raucous crowd in a night environment where BYU is very good. Mistakes will happen. You just got to grow from it.
Yeah, I think we've seen. I think so far this week we've seen an Andy Staples and now a David Oven article where they're already calling into question the decision making of the coaching staffs at Oklahoma and Kansas State because of their decision to let a proven upperclassman walk for a younger guy. And I think that's those are pretty alarmist. Maybe not in the Oklahoma context where they're now young superstars being benched for a true freshman, but in relation to K-State, I think that article is totally unfounded. Those articles are unfounded and very much alarmist type reactions. Avery has played really well. He's done some really, really good things. He and the team, and not just him, but he and the team made a few mistakes on Saturday night in a tough environment. They will learn from that. They are going to improve. I think we are going to bounce back on Saturday. Still feel really, really good about where this program is at and where it's headed with Avery and others involved and leading the charge. And so any reactions as to, hey, we should have kept Will, or hey, maybe Avery's not ready, I think are totally unfounded. He's going to win a lot of football games for us over the course of the rest of this year and coming years. And so look for a big bounce back game from him and this team on Saturday.
That's really well put, Curry. And bizarre coaching decisions in the state of Oklahoma this weekend is Mike Gundy benched Alan Bowman.
Brought him back in, and they found a way to generate some offense. Totally bizarre. And the Jackson Arnold situation is bizarre. I mean, there's a guy who got some playing time late last year, and like Avery played in their bowl game and had some real success and looked like the future of the program. And all of a sudden, he as a true sophomore is being benched for a true freshman. We're nowhere near that situation. Avery is still undoubtedly the face of our football program and will be moving forward. And so, we pick ourselves up. That's a tough game in a tough environment. With an inexperienced offense showing their inexperience levels, we're going to be fine. I think in the words of Aaron Rodgers, many, many years ago as a Packers quarterback, I think we all need to relax a little bit and trust the process.
I think we'll all feel a lot better. K-State comes out, looks sharp, plays well, and beats Oklahoma State, a top 20 team. Obviously, they struggled against Utah. You win that, you're 4-1. You go into the bye. Everybody's got to remember the Big 12 championship season. K-State was 5-1, then eventually 6-2. Now the tiebreaker scenarios, or might have been 7-2. The tiebreaker scenarios are a little different now with not everybody playing everybody. But you get to 4-1, and then you've got a bye week, and then you go to Colorado, which, again, very winnable game. I mean, they should have lost to Baylor. It'll be tough, but it's a very winnable game, and West Virginia looks very winnable. I don't think West Virginia is as good as I thought coming into the season. So you have a real opportunity to bounce back. If you beat Oklahoma State, it's not going to be easy going to Colorado and West Virginia, but they're winnable ball games. And if you do that and you're sitting with a couple road wins and 3-1, 6-1 overall, they're exactly where I thought they'd be. I predicted them to lose at West Virginia to start the season, Curry, in the preseason pod. I didn't predict them to lose at BYU. So just got to find a way to bounce back and get the winning ways going again. And hopefully that starts Saturday. It'll need a raucous environment at Bill Snyder Family Stadium and the energy level high to get back on track. So
absolutely. Let's do all that we can to replicate a 2022 Oklahoma State K-State showdown.
That sounds great to me, man. That sounds incredible. Let's do it. And let's also see all of you over at the Wildcat NIL tailgate on Saturday morning. Get some coffee, some Five Farms from Holiday Distillery. If you want to go with a little bourbon or beer, that's also an option over there, I'm sure. And you'll have plenty of food as well. Curry mentioned breakfast, burritos, etc. Go to catsnil.com, get signed up so you can go hang out over there with us all. We're going to have a heck of a good time. We're going to have a heck of a good time every game this season in Manhattan at the Wildcat NIL tailgate. So be sure to make it over there and come hang out with Curry, the guys, former players, parents, families of players, etc., and all. Ton of 3-Mall listeners over there as well before the Arizona game. So come over, hang out with us. Go to catsnil.com and check out the membership program. Curry, outstanding stuff. This actually might be my favorite show that we've done to date together over the last couple of years. I really enjoyed getting your perspective and breakdowns of this. So really appreciate you diving in there and helping to kind of lay the groundwork of what you saw with your expert opinion. And shout out to Nick behind the scenes, as always, for producing the show. For Curry Sexton and Nick Springer producing, I'm Cole Manbeck. Thank you all for listening to another episode of 3-Mall.